Welcome to another podcast. Today we're speaking to a musician who's going to be in her car while she's traveling through Florida. And to many of you who may not know her, her name's Meredith Moon, and she's the daughter of Gordon Lightfoot, our great Canadian singer who wrote the record, the Edmund Fitzgerald, Sundown. Can you give us maybe a few minutes on what it was like to grow up with a famous musician? Give us a little bit of backstory of who Meredith Moon is.
It was a childhood. I definitely heard more music being played than the average bear. But other than that, it was what it was.
Did you understand? I'm not sure. I think it came out in a little bit after, Edmund Fitzgerald was wrecked in 1975, I think. When you wrote the song, did you have any understanding of what happened?
Well, no, I was born in 1994, so I was born long after the song was written. But yes, I understood the gravity of the situation via the song, I suppose.
Well, it must be actually quite captivating when you tell people that you were the daughter of Gordon Lightfoot. But we like to ask you, so you have a new album out, coming out, I think Constellations. Can you give us a little bit of idea what that album is about and if it shares some of your experiences growing up?
I don't know about growing up, but I guess that plays a part in anyone's life. But they're all different songs about different stories that I've experienced for the past. I guess the earliest song on it was the title track, and that was written in 2016, and the rest of them were written a couple in 2017, and so on and so forth. But it's basically an album about every song is about a different person or place or experience, but it's I like the title of it actually because it's an album is, I suppose, a lot like a constellation. So in the most cliche way I can put it. And so that's essentially what the album's about. It's about heartbreak and happiness and all the things that a love song album is about.
And can you give us an idea of the video Constellations? Can you give us an idea of how that came to be? Like, it looks like it was filmed up north somewhere.
It was filmed at it was filmed in the Kawarthas. It was filmed at Eels Creek, near Stony Lake. It's one of the rivers that run from Stony Lake in Buckhorn, and it was filmed by my friend Josh Penno at Spacebag Productions, who's a really awesome cinematographer. And it was basically wanted to pay homage to my Ontario home, because the song has a lot of references to Ontario in it. And I figured Eels Creek, for those who know Eels Creek, is a beautiful place to represent the beauty of Ontario.
Yes, everyone, I live in Ontario and it is beautiful. So when you get a chance, if you want to move somewhere, move here. I know for the past decade, it says that you're a multi-instrumentalist and songwriter. Can you give us an idea, besides the guitar, what other instruments can you play?
Banjo, and I play a variety of woodwind instruments when I am tickled to do so, and I have fun on them, like bass clarinet, saxophone, and then I play lap, like Appalachian lap, Dulcimer. I have a McSpadden, and I've had it since I was 16. And mandolin. I recently picked up fiddle in, I guess, April or May, and I've been learning old time fiddle for the last while, and piano. So I like to switch it up because I feel like there's more inspiration to be grabbed from different instruments as opposed to sticking to the same one all the time.
Yeah, Constellations is a really good song. Everyone, before we forget, please hit the subscribe button, and a lot of the content from Meredith will be down below in the description, including her video Constellations, which is very good, by the way. And watch out for her new album, Constellations, coming out soon. I'm also looking at Tennessee Whiskey cover with your friend Danielle Rebel, like she's a friend of yours, but
Yeah.
seen in a video with you. And it's amazing that you get your friends to play. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what music's all about. So
yeah. And Atwater Bridge as well. What's that one about?
Yeah, that's sort of a B-side track. I like to songs that I don't predict will end up on an album. I call them my kind of my scrap songs. And that one ended up on YouTube. It was originally on because I re-recorded Constellations and took some things in, put some things in, took some things out, including that song. But it ended up on YouTube instead, and that's kind of like my song organizer storage place. And that one's just about a. Sorry, I have to move my phone because it's overheating. That is about living in Montreal in the summer, essentially. So, and the summer in Montreal is very hot and very, it's very humid, and I just figured I would write a song about that.
Do you try to stay out of the snow? So you go to places that's warm when, like, if there's a place you're in which is cold or snowy, do you try to get out of that so you can get as much spring type summer weather as you can, or do you don't mind the snow?
I love the snow. I'm a big fan of snow. I just go where the music is good and where my friends are and where things are happening.
So when you're doing a gig, it says you're hitchhiking around North America, riding the rails and making your own connection to DIY spaces and online forums. So I guess you're sort of one of those musicians that just don't like to put their feet down on anything. They just like to move on.
I don't like to stay in one place for too long. No, I think that more songs can be found moving around. Yeah.
Do you have other siblings that are into music?
I do. My brother Eric is a drummer in Squamish, BC, and he does more punk rock music, and he's an awesome drummer. Yeah.
How often do you see your father?
I see him usually every Wednesday for dinner, but when I'm not in the country, we talk on the phone.
That's awesome. So you learned to play the banjo at 21 by watching YouTube videos, really? So who was it?
Yeah.
Steve Martin?
No, people ask me that, but I honestly never have an answer for them because it was just sort of random tutorials on how to play clawhammer banjo and then how to play specific old-time banjo pieces. And there's many teachers on YouTube who do that sort of thing. So I watched a lot of them, and I can't remember who I watched, but it worked, luckily.
Oh, wow. I might even consider taking up another instrument using YouTube videos at the moment.
Yeah.
I didn't know. So you booked your own tours across North America and Central America, like Western Europe, Croatia, Czech Republic. That must have been like so invigorating just to be in these different venues and different countries and be able to play your music.
It is. I love it. I love seeing the different reactions country to country. And which I can't remember all of them now, of course, but all of the different languages in Europe, and and learning how to say thank you, or this next song is whatever the title of the song is, and everything. And of course you forget usually the next day or the day a couple days later what that was, but I should have written them down. But learning how to say that an hour before the show, and then playing the show in a different language is fun. And just the different ways that audiences receive music in different places in the world. It's all pretty much the same, and I think that everybody in the world, minus a few folks, I suppose, there would have to be, enjoy music, and that it makes me happy.
Yeah, I bet you sort of had quite an adventure when you were filming that video where you're actually looks like you're in a canoe in the Panama somewhere. You were strumming your instrument there.
Actually, I'm in the Kawartha Highlands in that video.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah.
That was nice that you come to think of these interesting music videos where you're either sitting on a bed or a room with a friend, or you're out there in a canoe or something. That must be quite an adventure.
Yeah, music happens everywhere, and the only thing that can make being in a canoe better is when you have an instrument with you.
That's true. Why did it take you so long to write this album? 6 years. Wow.
So Forest Far Away came out in 2018. I think that Starcrossed was originally set to release in May of 2020, and I didn't want to have an online release. I wanted to do a real show and a little tour with it to promote it and celebrate it. And so that's why it took so long. However, I'm grateful in retrospect that it did take that long, because I was able to add a couple more tunes and get Will Fisher in on the drums, and so really, like, the album wouldn't have been ready to have been released in 2020. So I am glad that it took so long.
What was it like being a musician in Toronto?
It's I still live in Toronto now when I'm not traveling, but it's awesome. It's I think it's the best city for music in Canada. No offense, Montreal and Vancouver, but yeah, at least I find personally Toronto to be the best city for music, because there's something every night of the week, no matter what genre you play, or listen to. There's something every night of the week, and yeah, there's lots of folks out there on the grind and playing in different bands every night, and it's a really exciting place to be right now, and it has been for a long time, and I suspect that it will be for a long time to come. So.
Who were your favorite artists growing up? Like, who's your favorite artist now that wasn't your favorite back then? I noticed that you like Joni Mitchell.
Yeah, Joni's been a staple for sure. I mean, Bob Dylan's my favorite, and always has been my favorite, and probably always will be my favorite musician. But I mean, I listen to all kinds of stuff. The Smashing Pumpkins were really big for me, and Doc Watson. Now I listen to a lot of, I'm still in the vein of like folk singer-songwriter stuff, and the last few years Townes Van Zandt has made a pretty large impression on me, Guy Clark. But yeah, I usually stick to, aside from the odd Smashing Pumpkins time or day where I will listen to them again for nostalgia, I listen to a lot of singer-songwriter, old singer-songwriter folk music, and I try to keep it that way, because I think that absorbing music and inspiration from the genre that I choose to write in is helpful. So
I noticed that you can play the dulcimer. Now, we had someone else on our show named Ted Yoder, and there's like Joshua Messick and a bunch of others who play the actual dulcimer itself. So I didn't
Like a hammer
realize that
dulcimer.
a hammered dulcimer, but you play the McSpadden
Yeah,
Appalachian dulcimer.
yeah.
What's the difference between that one and the hammered one? Better
I've
sound?
never played a hammer dulcimer, but from what I understand, the hammer dulcimer it's sort of like piano strings in a way, and
Yeah.
a piano has the felt uh, kick, what is the term? Kicks. I don't know why I'm calling them that, but anyway, they hit the strings, but with the hammer dulcimer, you're sort of just hitting the strings with a felt, a stick with a piece of felt on it, and the for lack of a better a proper term. But the Appalachian dulcimer is essentially it sounds similar to a hammer dulcimer, I suppose, but it's really just a flat lap guitar, in my opinion. But it has 4 strings, and the standard tuning for it is there's one double string like a mandolin or a 12-string guitar, and those are in D, and then A, D. So it's in dad tuning, and yeah, it's essentially the chords are obviously very different than any other string instrument that I play. But yeah, it's a really beautiful instrument.
What's your favorite
And
instrument to play?
probably banjo. Banjo's
Mhm.
yeah, it's like my heart instrument. Um, but I write primarily on the guitar. So
What do you think of Steve Martin's playing?
I think he's awesome. He's an awesome player. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to match his music because he's quite a wizard at that. Um, so, how would you consider your music genre? Would you consider more acoustic, more jazzy, more, well, it wouldn't be more rock? Would it be more like pop?
I would consider it folk at its core. Uh, I guess there's a couple songs that would come off as country, old time country folk-ish in their structures. But folk, I would just use folk as the broad term to describe my music.
Yeah, I would consider it to be like that, or maybe a little bit more like acoustic. We love your cover of Lovers in Dangerous Time. Now, that originally was written and
Hmm.
sung by Bruce Coburn, and then
Hmm.
it was another cover by Bare Naked Ladies, and now you cover it. So tell us
As do a
about
lot
why
of
you,
folk.
yeah, why did you choose that song?
That song has always, I'm a huge Bruce Coburn fan. So when I signed to the same label as him, I literally danced a jig around my kitchen. He's one of my songwriting heroes. And that song has always moved me. Uh, it's up there in Bruce Coburn song levels of emotional movement for me. And I just figured I would um, see how it sounded on a banjo, and then I liked how it sounded on a banjo, so I recorded a video of it.
So what you do, let me get this straight. So what you do is you just take a guitar and you see if the cover works, and then if it doesn't, you try a different instrument until you find an instrument that works, and that's the one you will play the cover with. Do I
No,
understand
I
that?
mean, for whatever instrument the cover's on, that's the instrument that I've figured it out on. Like I'll just pick up the banjo and just, I don't know, figure it out, and then that's what happened with that one. Yeah.
Don't you take it too bad. Cover everything is done, and yeah, and oh, Mike Desch is also playing a banjo. So how does the one for In Motion cover? You play it. You're playing. Is that a mandolin you're playing it with, and he's playing with a banjo?
Yeah. Yeah, that was just a silly folk punk cover night.
What do you do if the
Yeah,
instruments don't
that was fun.
work together? Do you just not do the cover? Or you just try your best.
I think all instruments can work together if they try hard enough. Teamwork. Yeah, I don't know. We just kind of were sitting there jamming and decided to record a video a few years ago.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So, what accomplishments do you see yourself achieving in the next 5 or 10 years?
I don't know. I don't know. I just hope to keep being where life is good and I can be the happiest I can and play the most music I can and meet cool people who also play music and see what happens. And that's my goal. I hope to write a lot more music and release more albums. And yeah, that's all I can ever ask for.
Did you bide your time during the pandemic to write and do things more online? How did you keep yourself busy?
I didn't really play. I played like a couple live streams during the pandemic, but other than that, I didn't really pick up an instrument. Um, I wrote one song and I sorry, there's a motorcycle parking next to me. There we go. So I wrote one song and then I wrote the skeleton of another song, and those are both on the album. But other than that, I think I might have picked up the banjo about 4 or 5 times. I was quite uninspired, but I did a lot of my other passion, which is cooking. So that was good to take a break from music.
That's awesome. What kind of cooking?
I honestly I look into all kinds of things, but my favorite thing to make is bread, and I think that I will spend the rest of my life trying to perfect bread making because it is a constant uh, art form that is you can never quite nail perfectly.
That's amazing, Meredith, because I was in January, I decided to try this keto diet. So I lost like 24 pounds as of now. So I'm pretty happy about that. And they say that a lot of there's keto bread that you can make because a lot of the bread nowadays, even though it says 12 grain, whatever, it still contains gluten. It still contains white flour and everything. So when you make your bread, what ingredients do you use? Do you have a bread maker? What do you use? What kind of
No, I need my bread. I find it therapeutic. Um, But yeah, I mean, I've made bread out of like flax flour. I've made it out of almond flour. So I do make gluten-free bread sometimes for gluten-free friends. Like I made a couple batches for Christmas. I gave out a lot of bread to people. But yeah, usually I'll just use unbleached flour, and I don't know, I'll throw all kinds of stuff in there, like walnuts, apples, quinoa was a fun one, flax. Whatever I have in my jars in my kitchen, I will throw in there. But yeah, the whole process takes about 3.5, 4 hours. And I mean, you can bust out like 4 or 6 loaves of bread in a day if you wanted to.
Does it last long, especially homemade bread? Because I know that I
It
have like three.
well, I whatever I'm not eating that day, I will slice and put in the freezer. So I have a freezer full of bread. So if ever you're in Toronto and you want some bread, stop by.
Yes, please let me know you're in Toronto so I can grab that bread from you and maybe sing with you
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be awesome.
I can't wait.
Well, maybe almond
Working out.
almond flour bread might be your new best friend. Yeah.
Yep, I bought almond flour just 3 weeks ago and haven't used it yet. I'm dying to make some bread. I'm desperate to get some
Awesome.
recipe from you or something. Send it out. Send it out. Um, okay, so you're not playing music. You're not writing music. You're making bread. What else do you do to keep yourself busy
Oh, this
outside of?
was during the pandemic. During the pandemic. So, I mean, I started playing music really vigorously again, probably about a year and a half ago. And I understand the pandemic is still ongoing, but I guess what I meant is during lockdown, um, uh, that's what I was doing. But yeah, I've been playing more music than I ever have the last year or more, and it's been wonderful. And that's how I'm now keeping busy again.
Well, if you're traveling from here to there and you're not really settling down, talking about food again, what would your typical diet be for a musician of your stature?
Well, I like to go around and talk to people and meet people, and like if you become friends with someone, you can go use their kitchen. But usually, I have my road food is usually wraps and veggies. I eat a lot of carrots, raw carrots. Um, I have a bunch of bananas on my dashboard, and down here in the south, it's kind of easy. You can just go around and pick things and pick, whatever's growing. Last night I ate a prickly pear cactus flower, or sorry, a prickly pear from a cactus, just like walking down the street. So that's fun. But I guess yeah, a lot of canned stuff. Get a can of pickled beets or whatever. Throw that in a wrap, and that's gourmet when you're traveling. So
Yeah, I kind of severed my relationship with McDonald's. I don't really want to do fast food. Like it's not really good for your health, especially after watching that movie Super Size Me, where the guy had nothing but McDonald's for the whole 30 days, and the doctors told him if you don't stop it, you're gonna have a heart attack because his cholesterol went up. He gained like 30 pounds. Like, no, thank you. you know. Um, but yeah, and I have a bottle of beet juice in the fridge. You just drink
oh,
one little
good,
shot glass of beet juice, and it's really good for you. Plus
good, yeah,
apple cider vinegar as well. Um,
yeah.
Apple cider vinegar with a little bit of lemon and water, and just drink that. So that actually works for you too. That makes you good. Um, and when I sing, basically, I'm a tenor, and when I've sung, in order to get my voice, I had to. You have to drink like lemon water or something just to get your like. Don't order a pizza and eat the pizza with cheese and then go sing because you're gonna have a vibrato that you don't want. All this phlegm is gonna come up and everything. So you want to just deal with the way. Just deal with your voice and sing first before you decide to order a pizza or anything cheese or drinking milk because it does not work inside your throat because you're like like this, and you don't want that. Um, is there anything you drink before show? Anything to get your vocal cords moving, working?
I used to it's funny that you say that. I used to purposely eat like oily food of some kind or like greasy food right before a show. And
Wow.
and I found that actually worked for me. But yeah, I guess now I just drink a lot of water because I think that going on stage is more of a workout than we think it is. And
Yeah, it is.
it's easy to get dehydrated and not be able to sing anymore.
Well, you can always have like a stool beside you with a glass of water on it and just take a swig before you do your next song
Yeah,
or something. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
But don't like have a yeah. Um, so describe your favorite and least favorite part about being a musician.
Um, oh boy. Okay. Well, my favorite part of being a musician is making connections with people and it who otherwise we might not have made a connection. If sorry, there's a guy I said I would jam with, and he's at the back of my truck.
Oh,
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, my favorite thing is making connections with people where we otherwise might not have had something in common, and music is there to sort of facilitate a connection or a friendship of some kind. Because I find people really fascinating, and especially other musicians, and it's nice to meet them. Um, and I guess my least favorite part of it is sleep deprivation when you've been driving from show to show for days and days. But I mean, that's all part of it too. So I don't really, you take the good with the bad, I guess.
Well, looks like you want to go jam with your friends. So can you take a few more questions?
No, he can wait. Whatever,
Okay.
my time is yours right now.
Okay, so I'll have you till like 5. Is that okay? Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're ever in town, I'll make you my mother's lasagna because everyone wants
Oh,
it. It's
wonderful.
really, yeah. You can
Wonderful.
use my kitchen, and you can play on my couch for me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So yes, why are you so passionate about music?
I can't tell you. Can't tell you, Chris. No, I don't know. It's always been my first love, I suppose. I knew that I wanted to try and make a career out of it from a very, very young age. And probably, I think I was about 8 years old when I realized that's what I wanted to do. So I've taken every step I could in life in the direction of that, and I hope it keeps being prosperous because it's really fun, and yeah, that's
It is
how
fun,
I feel
Meredith.
about
You're
that.
so talented. The way you play that instrument is like a part of your body, and it's sort of like
Thanks.
you can glue your hands to your banjos and your guitar and just play music while you're going about your business. And you grocery shop, and you say, "I'm going to get some green peppers," so you could do that. But no, just
That's
just
really
to be
funny
serious.
because the other day I went into the grocery store with a mandolin and I was walking around playing mandolin while I did my vegetable shopping. So,
That's amazing. Wow, I love to have seen that. That's awesome. Are you familiar with Marshall Dane? He plays down at the Rock and Docks here at
no,
Port Credit. Oh,
no, I'm not.
he's another acoustic guitar player, and we had him on a podcast, I guess, a few weeks ago. But he has some really he inspires me as well. A lot of musicians like yourself inspire me. Just I want to get out there and start performing again, and I miss that. Um,
Yeah.
who would you be your ideal musician to collaborate with?
Oh boy.
And you don't have to say your dad.
I love collaborating with people. Oh boy. I think, wow. I would have to say someone within the old time music realm. Um, yeah, I can't put any names on it right now. Yeah, someone doing old time music these days, like Frank Fairfield or someone in that vein would be really wonderful because I think collaborating with old time musicians is really nice because you usually know the same songs as each other. And if you don't, they're easy to learn because you know other variations of it or something like that. So, um, yeah, just anyone doing old time music and making a career out of old time music, I would be happy to collaborate with.
That's very interesting. What do you
Yeah.
do for stress? Like, what do you do if you don't get along with your duet partner? You refuse to work with them, or do you try to work it out?
I've never had that issue before, but so I couldn't tell you, but yeah.
And if it ever happens, you have like an idea of how you would deal with it.
Well, I think that talking about things is a good start, I suppose, in any way. Um, but yeah, I mean, if a musical duet isn't working out, then I suppose you could spend your time working with someone else if things don't work out.
Yeah. Um, Great answer. I love that answer. So tell me about your favorite performance in your career.
My favorite performance?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Um, it was probably it was probably playing in my friend Woody's basement pub in Padfield, England in 2018. And
Oh wow.
the 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 joy of everybody there, and it was a full house, and it was just one of those magical shows, where just everything was perfect, and it was just I was in this little old 1500s village in the hills of the covered in sheep or all around this little tiny town in England, and in this pub in the basement of this art gallery slash house where him and his family live. It was just, yeah, I think the whole Europe tour, especially the UK shows, were in it was 2019 that this happened, and those were all just magic shows. And I think my other favorite show was in Victoria, BC, in this past October. I was opening for my dad, and at the Royal Theatre, and it was I did an a cappella version of this song "Old Paint," which is an old time tune, and kind of stepped back from the mic, and I could feel my whole voice, just like my voice resonating through this whole hall, and you could hear a pin drop, and the audience was so kind and lovely, and that was a really magical show. So, yeah.
That must be quite an experience to not only open for your dad, but also to hear those acoustics. I'm thinking of what you said about that 1500. I guess you're talking about the place you were in the basement was built in the 1500s. Is that what you're trying to say?
The whole village was, so the village of Padfield, I believe it's somewhere around there. I might be off by a couple hundred years, but very, very old stone village, cobblestone street, town of, I don't know, probably 800 people or something in England. Um, and yeah, that was a wonderful show and a wonderful
How did
town.
that make you feel? Yeah. How did that make you feel? What kind of emotional high did you have? How
I mean,
surreal?
yeah, that whole tour there was some magic in the air. It just worked out, and yeah, I booked the whole thing just through friends of friends, and you know asking friends where they'd played before, and my friends, the Slow Can Ramblers, had played at this place with Woody um in, I guess, a couple years before, or whatever. So I got in touch. That the Laughing Badger was the name of the place, and yeah, I think I'll be going out there again in August. Um, though I haven't announced that tour yet, but people can keep an eye open for it over there. Um,
And we're going to make sure that my audience listens to your music and listens to Constellations, and we'll put all that in the description. Um, if you're playing music, you're playing in front of an audience. Um, what do you do if your audience look tired or bored during it? How do you invigorate them again?
um, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn at all, but I've never had that experience. I think because I play such a loud, abrasive, upbeat instrument as the banjo. I think that it's hard for folks to fall asleep even if they wanted to. Yeah.
Well, you got me listening and watching, so I didn't fall asleep once during those. What would you do if you made a mistake during a performance?
Carry on. Yeah, carry on. Mistakes are a part of being a person. That's what makes us different from the robots. So I think that I mean, music is honesty, in its purest form. You're just sharing yourself completely vulnerably with an audience, and I think that mistakes are part of that process, and I think that it just makes your song more honest. And I never want to have a perfect performance because it means that it isn't honest. Um, that's my policy.
Did you ever have a drop the mic moment, Meredith, where you're just playing the guitar and all you wanted to do is just get up and leave because it's a perfect ending to your night?
In a good you mean if I've had a good set?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been sets where I've felt very good about them. There's also been sets where I want to drop the mic because it's going so badly, but I carry on anyway, as you gotta.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you consider, okay, so you played in the basement of that what you thought was a Village 1500 and made you feel this way, and the acoustics in this other place was amazing. Um, are those your favorite venues, or would you mind playing in like a diner or a coffee shop or side of a street or something?
I'll honestly, I enjoy every show that I get, and I think that any opportunity to play music for people is not to be pushed aside. I do, like maintain my integrity as somebody working a job, and have a guarantee and all those things. I like to have those. Um, but at the end of the day, I mean, any opportunity to play music, given that it's a good job opportunity, and the musicians are being paid fairly as they deserve. I mean, I'll play in a diner, in a cafe, wherever there's people open to listening to my music. That's a huge honor for me. So
That's awesome. Now, I think you mentioned that you're in Florida right now because you're doing a gig at the moment, or you're just there
no,
for
I'm not. I'm not doing a gig. I'm just here. Yeah, just hanging out.
wow. I'd love to just get up and say, hey, just going to Florida, guys. See ya. You're on your own. you
I'm
know?
coming back on March 9th because I begin band rehearsals for the album release at the Rivoli on March 31st in Toronto. Um, so I got to get back and get back into work mode. So
Yeah, it's hard to do that when you're just a really nice place like that. And but what kind of skills do you think a musician needs? Can they just pick up an instrument they know how to play and sing that they know how to do, and just play, or do they have a certain skill?
I think that more than skill, they have to have a passion, and I think that skill comes after. I think that if you want to play music and you're inspired to play music, you should. And just by playing it, you will gain some skill and get better at it.
What do you need to do? So, well, you have to take training, you have to take courses, whatever. Oh, you can go to YouTube channel and learn it from there. But basically, yeah. But so if a musician came up to you and said, Meredith, I want, or no, Meredith, I have some advice for you. Boom. What would that advice be? Like, has any musician
Ooh.
given you any advice?
Yeah, yeah, I'm always happy to receive advice. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what that advice would be. I think that whatever I say would be a reflection of my own point of insecurity in my music, and I'm trying to figure out what that is. Maybe I need more bridges in my songs. Maybe someone might say that.
Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of songs that don't have bridges. They just
Yeah,
have,
I don't really like them. I don't really like bridges. I think that it cuts the story up a little bit too much for my songs. But anyway, songwriting styles are always changing and growing, so maybe someday.
what do you think of artificial intelligence taking over the music world?
I'm not a fan. I think that yeah, replacing the jobs of artists is it's one thing, but I think that like taking other artists' art without permission and using it to create art for cheap is honestly it's like a sweatshop for art, without the actual human beings doing unpaid labor and such. But I mean, it's cheap labor, but it's done by robots, so it's a little bit more humane. But I think that it's taking opportunities away from artists, and I'm not a fan myself.
Yeah, it's machines. It's
Yeah.
like you're letting a machine handle the music. It did the same thing with Amy Winehouse. They put her voice and they put a few lyrics, whatever, into the AI machine, and out popped this song, which you think was sung by Amy Winehouse, but it's actually AI. And most people don't like that because who's the artist gets paid for what they write and what they sing, but who pays for an artificial intelligence coming out with like a song and then it becomes a hit? Who gets paid for it? The programmer?
I guess the programmer or the person who invented the program.
It's not
However,
fair.
it's certainly not going to any musicians. So
Yeah, there's no
that's
talent
my
there.
political piece on that.
There's no talent there. I mean, like, you can take Mozart's unfinished symphony and finish it using AI. One of Mozart's unfinished symphonies, and he put it through an AI, and it came up with, and the AI finished it. So it's not like it has talent, because you need humans for talent.
Yeah, I think music itself is like the purest form of human expression. Is I think that art, all forms of art, whatever kind of art it is that you like to do, or I think that or craft or hobby or any passion, and I think that without that human touch, it's just, it's like anybody can, we can run numbers through a calculator, but it's not, that's not art to me. I refuse to see that as music or art. So, but call me old-fashioned.
Okay, old-fashioned, Meredith. Seeing this quote says that you should take opportunities and limit your exposure gigs to almost none. What does that mean? Can you explain that?
So exposure gigs are, when someone says, come and play this show at my, gallery opening or whatever, or come and play this show at the farmer's market. You won't get paid, but people will see you play, and you might get an opportunity from someone walking by you or coming up to you after your set, like for another gig, so that's an exposure gig. It's like, well, you could sit at home and play music for free, or you can sit here and play music for free. What's the difference? But I think that that's unpaid labor, personally, and I think that musicians with any sort of skill should know their worth. And I mean, it's cool to do maybe a couple of those when you're first starting out, even just, but I would say that open mics are even better than those, for opportunity, and B, usually they'll give you a couple drinks at least. But yeah, exposure gigs are unpaid gigs, and they call them exposure gigs to try and make it seem as though they are paying you in exposure. But like my musician friends like to say, I don't want exposure gigs because you can die from exposure. So, yeah.
You can call your next album Hyperthermia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What makes you feel like when you play a song, is there a certain song that you have to play first?
Not really. It depends what I'm feeling that in that moment. So sets are very much dependent on that, on how my day is going.
Do you expect better treatment and higher treatment if you tell them who your father is, or do you just try to leave that out of the whole conversation?
I would expect better treatment, but I would not like better treatment if it's based on something that I can't control, that has nothing to do with me or my music. So I would
Yeah.
rather be treated how people would treat me genuinely than be treated a certain way because of someone who isn't even me, So
Yeah, just
that's my
be yourself.
philosophy. Yeah.
Just be yourself. But okay, everyone, Meredith Moon. listen to all her music and show her love on the YouTube channel, subscribe to it, and listen to her new album, Constellation. I can't stress it enough, March 31st. And
The CD release will be at the Rivoli in Toronto on March 31st. And all of the info is on my website.
Yes, definitely. Gonna make sure we actually go down to watch you play. Appreciate that. Okay, Meredith, let's say goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, Chris. Thanks.
Bye. Just thank you. Just stay there for a bit.
Yeah.
Ending the stream, everyone. Thank you very much.
Nostalgia comes alive in the night, invasive memories like a blinding light. The weighs heavy on my heart, stitched up wounds ripped apart. Winter's here again, we've gone cold, covering the windows to your soul. Oh, I've done it too, and I'm falling out of love with you. I think too when I was young, we would go over the hills for the snow, running through summer's heavy skies. Oh, misery dies. Travel those rails, surrendering, losing all our boats, ascending constellations we never know. The darkness of North Ontario. Left him in the summer province away. Of the light wander, thought I'd marry you someday. Wish I could stop loving what ain't here. True love don't ever disappear. Nostalgia comes alive in the night, invasive memories like a blinding light. It weighs heavy on my heart, wounds me